been around my channel for a while, you might know that I've become quite invested in the fandoms that I love. For instance, Harry Potter and Disney. But there is one giant gaping hole in my fandom knowledge, and that is Star Wars. For some reason, I just never got into Star Wars. And so I decided that as someone with no emotional attachment to the franchise, I would watch and review them for you. About 2 or 3 years ago, I watched the first 2 episodes, and I remember little to nothing from when I watched those. So we're gonna start back at the beginning, which is episode 4, confusingly. So this video, I'm going to be watching episodes 4, 5, and 6, and that we'll just see how it goes from there. I'm going to review as I watch, because that way you get minute-to-minute updates about how I'm feeling about the story at that particular moment in time. And for another element of challenge that no one asked for, I'm going to be knitting a scarf while I watch and review, because multitasking. Also, I have a bowl of grapes, because we're not. If you didn't already guess, this video will be riddled with spoilers. There will be spoilers right from the get-go. There will be no holding back, because that just seems a bit pointless for a series that most people have seen. I'm gonna get started watching episode 4. I got my grapes, I got my wool, I got my whatever this is t-shirt. It's literally the only t-shirt that I could find that was Star Wars related that wasn't men's. It's unisex. There's no women's Star Wars t-shirts anywhere. I did try get a men's jumper, and it I underestimated how broad men's shoulders are. They stuck out, and I look like an 80s businesswoman, and not in a good way. Onwards to episode 4. So, first thing already, I know that the words going backwards into the screen is kind of like iconic for Star Wars, but I feel like I'm given a lot of information, just like straight information, right at the very beginning, and it feels like I'm going into something that's already started, and like I'm missing out on something already. And even though it explains it, it kind of just makes me feel like I'm at a loss already, even though it's only just begun. Alright, also just like, wow, the special effects. Without the veil of nostalgia, they're wow. They're old. I'm gonna ask you to have some patience with me, because I don't know the names of the things or the people or anything yet. So just bear that in mind when I say in the opening scene, the guys in the grey uniforms, whoever they are, have the least intimidating costumes I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so I'm at the bit where R2-D2 is in the cave thingy. It's right at the very beginning. I don't know what's going on at the minute, because nothing is being explained. I mean, a lot is happening, and I can kind of follow the story, but it's like there's a lot of just animatronics making noises. A lot going on with very little dialogue, and it just seems a bit dry. Okay, so I'm just at the bit where R2-D2 has shown Luke the part of the message from Princess Leia, and I've got some things to say about the characters. Not very many. One, R2-D2 is cute, not in looks. I mean, I don't particularly find the whole aesthetic of R2-D2 very pleasing, but in his little noises and stuff, he's quite like a little animal. He's quite cute. The next thing is C-3PO. I kind of hate him. I kind of hate him a lot. Luke, I think, so far in these 2-3 minutes that I've seen him, has proven to be quite the stereotypical hero for this kind of thing. But maybe this is where the stereotype comes from. Who knows, because I just wasn't on the bandwagon for so long. Maybe I missed that. It's definitely picked up though in the last minute or two, now that we've got some characters to bounce off each other as opposed to just like making noises. This is good. Like, I knew I just had to give it a minute, but it took a while to get started, let's be fair. The sand people just arrived, and why is absolutely every character in this movie dressed like a shepherd? What is the name of the creatures that the sand people have? The ones with the big like roundy horns, because they are super cute. Every line that Obi-Wan Kenobi says is delivered with such intensity. I've just encountered the Force for the first time, and Darth Vader or Lord Vader or whatever has just been like strangling your man. By the way, if you don't know, your man is just an Irish slang for the man. So Lord Vader, as he has been addressed thus far, has been strangling your man with the Force, and I am quite impressed with how it was done, because it was believable and I wasn't expecting it to be. I'm starting to enjoy myself with this. I am starting to enjoy it. But saying that, it's so slow paced. I've been watching this for about an hour and not that much of the plot has progressed. Harrison Ford is such a baby in this. I kind of forgot that he was in it. His character's name is Han Solo. Is that, have I got that right? I know who Chewbacca is. It's the hairy one. Right there. So Luke and Hans are just gonna go in and rescue Princess Leia, and I can kind of remember where this is leading to, but I just want to say, even though Luke is the one like instigating the plan, I just don't like Luke at all. I don't know what it is, but I find his character to be irritating, kind of like an annoying young person who thinks they're so great at everything. And now here's the thing, here's the comparison, okay? Even though Hans is like that character times like a lot, you know, he is very conceited and very arrogant and selfish. Even though he's those things and Luke is also those things, he isn't annoying. And I don't know why that is, because I think you're supposed to like Luke, right? You're supposed to like Luke. And I don't. Okay, so then at the bit where they're escaping with Princess Leia, and she's like, well, somebody has to save our skins, and then she opens the hatch, and it's just like, I'm suddenly really, really liking her character. And I also really love Chewbacca. When Hans is like, get in there, I don't care what you smell. It's just so endearing, because you can just imagine, like, isn't Chewie based on George Lucas's dog or something? You can just imagine a dog like looking, not wanting to obey and do something, and just like being like doing it but not wanting to. And I can just really imagine his dog's personality through this character, even though it's more human, obviously. But I'm just really enjoying this last little scene. It's nice. From what I remember, I'm pretty sure it ends with like Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan Kenobi like doing the lightsaber fight. That's next, right? Is that next? Nope, I was wrong. The next bit, like the garbage seems to be coming alive. A walking carpet. I like that. I love how Hans's approach to taking on the stormtroopers is by running and screaming at them. It's just been the fight scene between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it has been one of the most underwhelming scenes in the whole film so far. I mean, everything from the dialogue to that particular part of the actor's performance, just everything else was believable in the context of the film, but this just one scene, for some reason, I just don't buy it, and I don't feel that emotional connection that Luke has to Obi-Wan Kenobi when he sees him be killed. It's like, I mean, I get that he was a connection to his father and he was training him to be a Jedi Knight and whatever, but it's like, I don't care. His name is Han, not Hans. But I guess you probably knew that. Okay, so my thoughts on Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. I'm gonna give it a solid 3.5 stars out of 5. Now you might be thinking, if you're a hardcore fan, why don't you give it 5 stars out of 5? Because I didn't love it that much. There were quite a few scenes that I felt like dragged on quite a bit. It started really slow and took ages for it to start warming up. There was a lot of reliance on special effects and animatronics. I know they were doing the best they could with the technology that they had at the time. And when was this made? Like the 80s? I'm gonna actually check so I don't sound like an idiot if that's wrong. 1977. Okay, well, it's older than I thought it was. Even so, the reliance on it was a little distracting considering how far technology has come. The plot isn't overly complicated, which I liked, because for some reason I had it in my mind that this Star Wars franchise was going to be some massively complex thing, I guess because it's science fiction. And even though I like science fiction, they do have a tendency to go towards the complicated plot lines. So I liked that this was quite simple and straightforward cast of cool characters that we generally speaking like, or are supposed to like. Speaking of characters, I still find Luke a lot irritating. I don't like Luke. I don't like Luke Skywalker. He's kind of annoying. Do like Han Solo, love Princess Leia, love Chewie, like R2-D2, hate C-3PO, and who else? Darth Vader, I find, I keep waving the knitting needle around, I'm gonna put it down. I like Darth Vader as a leader and as a villain, though we haven't seen too much of him in this particular movie. One of the things I am slightly confused about is what the Force actually does. I mean, I know it's a power and it connects, like, you know, all living things or all things or whatever, but what does it actually do? Does it give telekinetic ability? Does it just hint at the future? Does it give you slightly like psychic power? I just don't understand how you could learn to harness something like that. And I guess that's what makes the Jedi Knights the like advanced force they are. We'll see how it progresses in the later movies. So ultimately 3.5 stars out of 5. Room for improvement. I wish there was more interaction between the characters and less just like battle scenes, because I found those to be quite drawn out and a little bit dry. I'm going to be watching the next episode tomorrow and I am excited about that. I think I've seen like clips and stuff from the other movies, but I don't think I've seen any of them the whole way through apart from this next one. So it'll be interesting to see my thoughts on the ones after that. What I've heard about the other ones, I think at some point Luke goes to the dark side. Am I wrong? Am I right? That's all I know about the plot of Star Wars outside of what I've seen in this movie right now. I just have no idea which way it's gonna go. I've managed to avoid most of the spoilers except for, you know, obviously the Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker's father, that kind of thing. Like, I knew that. Apart from that though, I don't know what's gonna happen. That's it. It's like, I'm gonna go to bed, otherwise I will not be able to wake up in the morning. So I will leave my knitting and my reviews there for the night. Oh, just as a side note, I still have no idea what this thing on my t-shirt is. I am back to watch the second episode of Star Wars, episode 5. What's it called? The Empire Strikes Back, and I have, as you can see, another critic here with me who is also going to be adding her opinion, maybe. So Erin, have you watched any Star Wars before?
No.
I'm gonna get you up to speed, okay? So we have an empire, an evil bad empire. Princess Leia takes plans from the Empire, takes them away and hides them. She gives them to R2-D2 and the C3 gold guy, yeah? They go missing. They go run away. Then the Empire tries to get them and they're running away and they meet Luke. Yeah, Luke Skywalker is a bit annoying. And then they somehow come across Han Solo, who is Harrison Ford, but like a baby Harrison Ford. And they like go and find the Empire and then, like, I don't know, they win. We're gonna see how it goes. Don't worry, I have my knitting and my niece. We're gonna review Star Wars Episode 5. No, I won't put you through that. I am not quite sure if it's a llama or a kangaroo that he just rode into the screen, but not too intimidating. Luke has just cut the Yeti's arm off. How rude. So they've just cut open the cow kangaroo to put Luke inside so he doesn't freeze, and it seems like the most disgusting way to keep warm I've ever seen in my life. I mean, at least they didn't kill the cow kangaroo, it kind of just dropped out of its own will. My guest critic had to go home, so I'll continue on by myself. Okay, so we're about 10 minutes into the second movie and I finally have a reference point for this thingy. Is it a walker? Is that what this is? We've just landed on the planet that I assume Yoda is on. From my vague memories, Yoda's on this planet, right? And I'm loving the aesthetic of it. It's like a forest with all this mist coming up. It's great. I love it. What I want to say about this movie so far is that I got into the action a lot quicker and it held my attention much better than the first half of the first episode did. But I'm still noticing that the battle scenes are so long and drawn out. Now maybe that's just me because I don't particularly enjoy watching battle scenes. I'm loving the almost relationship between Leia and Han. Almost 100% sure that Luke and Leia are brother and sister. That's a thing, right? And she like kissed him to get back at Han, and I know she doesn't know this yet, but like it's still kind of like, ugh, what are you doing? And even though she doesn't know yet, it's kind of like, you just look at it and you're like, no. Does anyone else think that Yoda looks like what would happen if Jim Henson was asked to make a green monkey? C-3PO just interrupted Han and Leia. I mean, I told you he was annoying. Okay, who is the guy who's in the projection talking to Darth Vader? You know when you're watching something and you see something familiar from like posters or something and you're like, oh, I recognize that, but you don't actually know who they are or what they do or even what they're called. That's where I'm at right now. So I just want to know what he's called. And Darth Vader just called him Master. I was under the impression that Darth Vader was the ultimate bad guy. So now we got someone badder than Darth Vader. Side note about Han and Leia, even though I'm kind of loving it, I'm also not entirely buying it. And I'm not sure if it's that acting has changed over the last 40 years or maybe I'm just over analysing it, but it's questionable. Well, now we're in the cave and he's just chopped off Darth Vader's head or helmet or whatever, and then it's kind of rolled away to reveal Luke's face underneath. If that's not a hint that he's going to go bad, I don't know what is. So I'm gonna hold on to my theory that Luke goes bad. Everyone who's already seen it's probably just rolling their eyes being like, of course that's what happens, or of course that's not what happens. But I don't know that. I'm gonna guess Luke goes bad, which is fine, because in my opinion he's a bit of an arrogant brat. Okay, so Lando has just betrayed Leia and Hans. And I actually am in shock because I really liked him when he first arrived. Luke has just wandered away from Yoda's training, further proving my point that he is an arrogant brat. And he's gonna mess it up. He's gonna mess it up. What does he think he's gonna do? Like, what do you think you're actually gonna do? You can hardly lift a rock. Honestly, Luke, get over yourself. We've just got to the bit where Han Solo is about to be put into carbon freeze. I love you, I know bit. And it just suits their characters so perfectly. I'm not sold on the special effects or even like the plot, but the characters in this movie franchise are pretty fantastic. Luke's hand was just cut off. It was just cut off. Does it grow back? Or is he always missing a hand from now on? So like when Luke cuts off the Yeti's arm at the beginning, is that like foreshadowing that he's gonna lose his arm later? It's quite interesting. He was told specifically that he would mess things up for them if he went to go help them. It's just pure arrogance. Really, I can't stand Luke. We just got to the I am your father bit. I always thought it was Luke, I am your father, but no, it's no, I am your father. So something that Darth Vader just said just stuck out to me. He said something about they can overtake the Emperor or something. I assumed Darth Vader was the Emperor. So is the guy in the hologram from earlier, was that the Emperor who he called Master? That makes so much more sense. Okay, I'm caught up now. I'm caught up. I get it. Okay. So Luke got a new hand. I just saw that. So episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, has just finished. And first things that I want to mention are, one, it was so much more entertaining than episode 4. The next thing I want to talk about is character development and how great it was in this movie, particularly in Luke. I mean, I still think he's a brat. I don't like him at all, but you can see how his character is really developing. I also want to say how the costumes and special effects have improved quite drastically, considering it's only a 3-year gap between when these were made. I also appreciated the sets and the scenery in this one a lot more. I felt it was a lot more varied and it was just more interesting to look at. Solid 4 stars out of 5. It wasn't quite all the way to 5, and the only reason I'm saying that is because it still felt quite drawn out in places, and there were some times that I just felt like this could have been condensed a little bit. Apart from that though, pretty good, very entertaining. I'm enjoying myself a lot more. This was the point that I stopped watching them a couple of years ago. Maybe they're the kind of movies that grow on you, which is why people who liked them since they were a kid like them a whole lot. And I, who didn't really grow up watching them, didn't have that connection with them the first time. Because it's not late yet, and because I can, I'm gonna go directly into episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and see if I can make it through that tonight. I'm excited to see what happens, because I don't know which way it's gonna go. This is the original trilogy. This is where it wraps up, so I'm expecting big things. I have high expectations. I'm hoping, because there is such huge improvement between episode 4 and episode 5, that episode 6 is just gonna blow me away. First time checking in for this movie, and I just want to say, like, this Jabba the Hutt, living like a king. Special effects are dated. They're dated, and it's so easy to see, and I'm trying to look past it. I know I've complained about that a lot so far in these reviews, but it's the thing that stands out most because it's a movie that's science fiction and relies quite heavily on those things. I'm gonna try to overlook it because I know that this was made in 1983, right? But still, but I do want to say that the camera quality from episodes 4 to episode 6 has improved hugely. One has been unfrozen. Great. Why the heck is Leia just like dressed down for the moment? This Jabba dude is a creep. Luke now has a green lightsaber, and I'm not sure what that represents. I mean, in the first two it was like red bad, blue good. Now we've got green in the mix. Do the colours actually symbolize anything, or is it just a purely aesthetic thing? While I've paused it now to talk to you for a minute, I just want to say that the scene where they're throwing people into the plant thing in the ground, it's a bit long. I mean, I get that it's another fight scene. There's just so many fight scenes. Okay, so Obi-Wan is talking to Luke through the Force, and Yoda has just died, and Luke has just somehow discovered that he has a twin sister, and just out of thin air he just kind of knows, oh, it's Leia. And I'm wondering if he knows this because she's the only female character, or if the Force told him. Wasn't quite clear on that. That bit just seemed too convenient to be believable. Oh my gosh, what is this little bear thing that's just woken up Princess Leia? It is the most adorable thing that has shown up so far. So there's a whole ton of these teddy bear type things, and they're worshipping Han, C-3PO and R2-D2 and Luke. I don't know what's going on. I kind of love them. I think they're Ewoks. That's something I've picked up off the street, so I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure these teddy bear things are Ewoks. C-3PO is telling the Ewoks about like their story and how they've got to where they are right now, and it is the most adorable scene ever. The Ewoks are so into it. You might be seeing some art of Ewoks on my Instagram because they're so cute. Nothing so far in Star Wars has been like cute, except for maybe R2-D2's personality. Luke has just told Leia that they're brother and sister, and she's like, somehow I've always known it. Which would be okay, because, you know, we're dealing with the Force here, and it's, I don't know, it's hinting at this to her or something. But think back to the start of episode 5. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Luke's just chopped off Darth Vader's hands. Things have now come full circle. Oh, Darth Vader just came through for Luke. He threw the Emperor off the bridge. The makeup under Darth Vader's mask is way underwhelming. I don't like it at all. And not just because it's not what I expected him to look like, but because it's quite poorly done. I didn't actually see this part coming. I don't know when it was explained that Darth Vader needed his mask to survive. Did I miss that? Is that something that I missed? Or is that coming in the next few episodes? Darth Vader is dead. I didn't know he died. That's the kind of thing I should have known just from like picking certain things up. There's some things you just can't help but be spoiled by when you've been out of a fandom for so long, and I assumed this would have been one of those things. Maybe he will rise from the burning flames. Return of the Jedi has just finished. I quite like how it ended. The celebrating scene was quite cool, and I like how his father showed up beside Obi-Wan and Yoda. That was quite nice. Can't give this movie 5 stars out of 5. Like, I was going to give it 3.5 about midway through, because there's a lot of those fighting scenes that just dragged out and made the whole movie seem a lot slower paced than, in my opinion, it should have been. Also, there was the reliance on special effects and makeup that just wasn't up to modern day standards, but that's me being too critical on that. I would give this movie overall 4 out of 5 stars. Highlights of the series, characters in general and their development, but particularly Leia and Han's, R2-D2 and the Ewoks. Ewoks just because they're cute. Lowlights, probably the elongated fight scenes that just seem to drag it out rather than enhance it, but I guess that's a personal taste thing. And also the reliance on special effects. I know, I'll let it drop, that's the end of it. This movie wrapped up the series really nicely, this first initial trilogy I mean, but left enough there to develop. My grapes have been eaten, my knitting has progressed, and that's all I have for you for this video. Bye. Brief side note before I completely disassemble my setup here in my room. Luke didn't go to the dark side. I don't know why I thought he would. Maybe because I just didn't like him very much, but he held true to, you know, the good guys. Good job, Luke, I suppose.